What is going on, everybody? It is Monday, December the 6th, and that means it's time for my news radar. Ah, yes, Windows on ARM. Something I think that many of us have been extremely keen to see really take off. Devices like the Surface Pro X look awesome. They're razor thin, great battery life. They look very, very cool in my opinion. Look at those small, thin bezels. Now, of course, Surface Pro 8 now does uh, mimic a lot of those things, but I digress. The Surface Pro X and several other ARM devices have some really great advantages over a standard x86 processor, like really long standby, always on. Lots of great stuff going on there. And I think that ARM genuinely is the future. You look at what's happened with Apple and the MacBook with the M1, and I think that it is plain to see. There are so many great advantages to running an ARM processor, and now the disadvantages are shrinking day by day. But one of the disadvantages on the Windows side of things is that the performance just hasn't quite been up to snuff. Well, that may be about to change. Granted, it has been slowly changing all along, but now we have the announcement of the Snapdragon 8CX Gen 3. This is the next gen version of the processors that virtually every Windows ARM device has been running. Of course, the Surface Pro X, for those of you that were going to say, "Nuh-uh, it doesn't run that. It runs the SQ1 and the SQ2." Well, the SQ1 and the SQ2 are based on the 8CX. So effectively, yes, they still are running that same processor, just slightly tweaked. But now, like I said, Snapdragon has finally announced the third gen version of the 8CX, and they're talking about more performance, multi-day battery life for your laptop or tablet running Windows, which is something that we really don't have in portable Windows devices. I've got my Surface Pro 7, which is not known for great battery life, like 3-4 hours of screen time is about it. Surface Pro X is going to get you way, way, way more battery life than that, but again, the performance hasn't been as good. We're going to talk about performance here in just a minute. AI accelerated performances, 5G built in. Of course, this is an ARM processor. It has a 5G modem built right in there. Really cool stuff. Let's go to this Windows Central article here where they kind of break down some of the specifics here. 85% performance improvement over the Gen 2. That is a massive, massive performance jump. In addition to having that massive performance jump, we are getting Wi-Fi 6E and 5G, which is really, really great to have. And these things are going to ship in the first half of 2022. So we're almost there already, but let's dig into some of that performance here. We're looking at a 40% single core performance boost and an 85% multi-core performance boost. In some leaked Geekbench scores, the single core of 1010 puts the CX in the range of something like an Intel Core i5U. Isn't a crazy performance score, but it's very respectable. And then you add in the endurance, the efficiency, the 5G, the Wi-Fi 6E, the thinness of the profile, the lack of needing fans, things like that. Pretty impressive. Then the multi-core score, which is a difficult thing to say so early in the morning, looks fantastic because it's basically punching above an Intel Core i7, like 1165 G7. These words are all difficult to say this early in the morning, but it's outperforming an i7 in multi-core. Now, there's a ton more info in this article. I will link to it in the description down below. Definitely give it a read. But basically what we've got here is Windows on ARM. The hardware is finally beginning to catch up. And now the software has to really catch up as well because Apple has a colossal lead in terms of ARM computing on a mobile device like this. But Windows is not laying down and playing dead just yet. This is a massive performance jump from Gen 2. Are you guys interested in Windows on ARM? Are you willing to switch? Personally, I would love to have something like a Surface Pro X. And of course, if it was running this newer processor, all the better. It's something I'm super interested in. And if they weren't so expensive, probably would have done it a long time ago. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Next up is a rather cautionary tale, something that's kind of crazy, actually. I saw this on Twitter just the other day, and I just kind of wanted to bring it to your guys' attention. Something that you might want to just consider going forward, and something that was a little bit shocking to me. This is a thread on Twitter by someone named Jane McGonigal, and she is claiming that she sent her Google phone in for warranty, repair, or replacement And after doing so, someone at Google, presumably, has gotten access to her accounts and has been looking through her files, through her photos, so forth and so on. If true, this is a wild thing to happen. Let's look here. We'll just go through the thread. She says, don't send your Google phone in for repair, as has happened with others. Apparently, there are other reports of this, which I haven't seen. Last night, someone used it to log into my Gmail, Drive, Photos, Backup, and email account Dropbox, and I can see from activity logs, they opened a bunch of selfies hoping to find illicit photos. Photos they opened were of her in bathing suits, sports bras, etc., etc. They deleted the Google security notifications in her backup email accounts because they had access to all this. If someone is interested in starting a class action lawsuit against Google for this, feel free to contact me, she says. She says she tried to lock and erase the phone. The hacker changed her Gmail settings to mark all security messages as spam, so she wasn't seeing them. When she went into her spam folder, that's where they all were. She also says she had been on Google support and Pixel support dozens of times, asking them to investigate why her phone marked delivered by FedEx disappeared at the warehouse. So this phone was delivered in Texas to Google's facility, went missing, and now someone has access to all of her stuff. They're looking through her photos, looking through all of her things, changing her spam settings so that no one can see what's happening. She also says that the phone wouldn't even turn on when she sent it back. So presumably they had to have gotten the thing, gotten it to turn on, and then done all these things, which again does line up with it having made it to a Google facility like the FedEx delivery says that it did. She does go on to add some additional details here, so let's go over those as well. She does confirm again that it was not able to be turned on, so she could not factory reset. She shipped the device to the official Pixel repair shop in Texas, which she was instructed to do so. FedEx marked it as delivered. Google said that they didn't have it. She kept contacting them every day to see what was going on so that she could be refunded in some way. At 3 a.m. Saturday morning, someone logged into her Gmail and other accounts for which her phone was a trusted device. This includes Dropbox, where activity was showing them opening lots of photos. They changed her password, set a spam filter to send stuff to spam, like I mentioned. She does acknowledge that it could have been stolen or hacked by somebody at FedEx, but that does seem a little bit crazy that someone at FedEx was able to get the phone to turn on and then got past the PIN and all these things. That seems a little bit weird, but whatever. Google did eventually refund her for it, though, but she's not sure if they actually ever found the phone when they refunded or not. Now, of course, we don't have like great evidence for this. I mean, she's not really supplied any evidence of this. These are just a series of claims, so we do not know if this is true or not. It's going to be very interesting to see if anything comes out to corroborate this claim. There are other people in this thread who have said similar things happened to them as well. Again, these are claims, and until a claim has sufficient evidence to be believed, you should never believe anything. Again, this will be in the description down below if you want to read it. Let me know. Have you ever heard of anything like this happening? Has anything like this happened to you? What do you think about this claim? Does it sound reasonable to you? I would love to know down in the comments below. So I've talked a little bit over the last year and a half about how I feel like we are entering a new golden age of experimental and fun phones. Once upon a time, phones didn't all just look like iPhones. They were crazy. They did all kinds of weird and wacky and wonderful things. And now I think finally, after about 42 and a half years of every phone just looking like an iPhone, we are headed back into that place again. Obviously, Surface Duo is one of those. The Z Fold is one of those. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a working prototype and two patent-based renders of some really, really unique and crazy phones that are apparently coming. The first one here is made by TCL called the Fold and Slide. And what this thing does is honestly kind of insane. So let's take to Twitter here where Fold Universe did tweet this out. And what we have here is a device that at first looks a little weird, granted, right? It looks a little bit strange, but as we roll forward here, it'll open up into a tablet. Now this looks a lot like a Z Fold. However, you'll notice that on this outside edge, the screen wraps all the way around, which is very different. Now, if we keep rolling forward, the surprises continue coming. He presses a button, and that's because this is a rollable display on the outside. So is this very slowly? Granted, this is a prototype. This is slow, But that where it rolls around and you get the display on the cover, that rolls out, and now you go from a phone to a tablet to a huge tablet, and all of this is able to fit in your pocket. This is a 10-inch display that can fit in your pocket. And then when you're done, of course, it can retract back in, again, very slowly. This will have to be improved over time, but it can fold back up, or roll back up rather, and then fold back shut again to fit back into your pocket. That is a crazy prototype by TCL. Next up, we have something from Vivo, which is basically that rolling concept, but that's all it's meant to be. So you've got a normal phone, instead of folding out, it rolls out. So the display will curve around and then go back into the body so that it can expand out. We've seen something like this in the past already. Personally, I think that's a really good design because you're not going to have a hinge down the middle, so there's not going to be a visible crease because it will just roll rather than folding. Personally, I think this is the future more so than the folding concept. As long as there's something to keep, bits of dust and grit from getting in between that rolling bit, and the motor can hold up, which I think it will. We had the OnePlus 7 Pro that had the motorized camera, and that has held up fine for people. So I think that they can probably make that work. And then lastly, we have another one from Vivo, which takes the folding phone concept to a brand new, really, really strange place. What you have here is a tri-folding device. So it will fold in and then in. So there's a crease here and a crease here. And that's pretty cool in and of itself, right? But then there's one really crazy thing. You can see something there and something there. And what those are those are basically little projectors to project onto a table a keyboard for you to type on. Now, I have to keep in mind that this is, of course, prototype, so we don't know that this is ever going to see the light of day, but I absolutely love the idea of coming up with these crazy concepts. As you can see here, as we zoom out, the display activates, and then a projector turns on and puts a keyboard on the table. We've actually seen these sorts of projectors in the past before for keyboards like this. So building this into a tri-folding tablet seems like an idea that makes some sense. It would allow you to type without obstructing what is on your screen. Absolutely crazy. I love it. I love all of this stuff. Let me know which of these three concepts you would be most interested in buying if they ever come out and are perfected. So we're saying this thing is going to open and close more rapidly and everything is going to be fine. Just on the conceptual basis, which one do you prefer? And let's end with a Reddit post here, something that you guys have been asking me about quite a bit. So on the Surface Duo 2, you've got the slim pin charging case, right? It attaches to the front of the Surface Duo 2. The slim pin then magnetically attaches and charges. People have been asking me, can you put a skin on that charging case? And I figured, yeah, the shape and size were about right to do this, but we hadn't actually seen someone do it just yet. Well, that is until now, because Reddit user FL Brownie has done exactly that. You can see this first picture here where they've attached a mahogany wood skin to their Surface Duo 2 slim pin charging case. And as we scroll through, I think this looks really good. For one, it's a great looking skin. It matches really well with the black bumper and the black pin. It looks really good in general. I don't like putting the skin on the camera bump, but that's just me. I think it looks weird, like a creepy spider. But that's just me. Let's keep going forward. You would never know that that was not just Duo 2's back, that was actually a case. And this last image here, I think it looks really, really good. However, there is one giant problem with this. If you scroll down, someone asks if there is any interference when you fold it, because sometimes with skins on the original Duo, this would happen. And he said, yes, there is. With the skin installed, you add a little bit of height there, and it's a small amount of height there, but by the time you work your way up, it's a lot of height. So if you're thinking about putting a skin like this on your Surface Duo 2 slim pin case, keep in mind that phone mode, it was already going to get worse with the pin in between. Well, with that little bit of skin in between, it's going to get a lot worse than that. So guys, that's all the news I have for you today. Be sure to check back every Monday and Friday for the next News Radar episode. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.